Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to the Geek Suite. I'm your host, the mighty Kidner Bean, and today we're in front of my Spooky Skull collection because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite Disney films, Coco. Coco tells the story of Miguel, a young would-be musician whose family hates music. He goes on a journey through the land of the dead and learns about himself and his family history along the way. And I guess spoiler alert from here on out for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Early on in the film, Miguel finds the headless photo of his grandma Coco's father, whom he believes to be the late local celebrity Ernesto de la Cruz. He steals the late celebrity's guitar and gets cursed and winds up in the land of the dead. The only way out is to get his family's blessing. But his family won't give him his blessing until he renounces music. So he goes off to find his alleged celebrity grandfather Ernesto de la Cruz to get his blessing, so he can go home and remain a musician. How that's going to work out once he returns to the land of the living with his living family members who still hate music doesn't really make sense, but that's so not the point because Disney movies always work out. During his adventures, he runs into Hector, who promises to help get Miguel to De La Cruz to get his blessing. And here's where the big gay conspiracy begins. Is Ernesto de la Cruz gay? Our biggest and earliest clue comes from Hector, who was De La Cruz's musical partner and best friend for years, literally until he died. Arguably, Hector is the closest person to De La Cruz, and he is so shocked that De La Cruz has any descendants that he literally faints.
Of the living, I need De La Cruz's blessing.
That's weirdly specific.
He's my great-great-grandfather.
He's your what?
Ugh.
When Miguel is giving us the expositional synopsis of De La Cruz's life, we see that the biggest celebrity of the time is De La Cruz. Fun fact, Ernesto de la Cruz's character is based off of two classic Mexican Hollywood stars, Jorge Negrete and Pedro Infante, who have cameos in the film at De La Cruz's big party.
Hey, Negrete, Infante, ¿quieren ver a mi tataranieto?
The big party scene is actually the next big clue that De La Cruz may have been gay. Even De La Cruz is initially shocked and taken aback when Miguel introduces himself as his great-great-grandson. He's not just shocked, but confused. If you take a look at the clip, you'll see.
Why have you come here?
I'm Miguel. Your great-great-grandson.
I have a great-great-grandson?
Now, looking back to the classic Hollywood era Mexican movie star trope, there are some things we need to look at when examining whether or not De La Cruz may have been gay. Because, yes, I am aware that Ernesto eventually confirms fairly quickly to all the partygoers that Miguel is his great-great-grandson. And the reasoning for why he would do this, even if he knew it were false, needs to look at the real-world history in which the world our story takes place. De La Cruz was a famous Mexican actor, singer, etc. in the early 20th century. Homophobia was already rampant in Hollywood during that time, blacklisting people they believed to be gay, using metaphors to express to the audience that some character was intended to be gay because you couldn't even say gay on screen at the time. This anti-LGBT sentiment was exponentially more prevalent and extreme for communities of color, particularly contrasting against the machismo that was revered within the Latinx community at the time. And for a large part, it still is, and coming out in Latinx communities is still difficult and even dangerous for some people still living in the more religious and conservative parts of the community. Looking at all of this, and the way that Disney portrays De La Cruz in his films, concerts, and shows, we see that he's very much embodying this ideal, hyper-masculine hero type that was popular during De La Cruz's lifetime, having died in 1942. If De La Cruz were gay, he would never publicly come out about it. It would ruin his image, and, for those who've seen the film, his image is everything. So, to review, our current evidence for this conspiracy theory is the initial extreme shock that both De La Cruz and Hector have to the notion of him having any descendants. Surely, if De La Cruz were living his celebrity life, women fawning all over him day and night, as we see in the film, that he would at least not be surprised to hear that he has some living descendant somewhere in the world, even if he never got married. This is further supported by Hector's overly dramatic response as well. He knew De La Cruz as a person, so surely he wouldn't be surprised that he had had kids at some point. Unless there was something about De La Cruz that he knew would make it impossible for there to be descendants. Which means, not only is it likely that Ernesto de la Cruz was gay, but De La Cruz was likely gold star gay. I mean, how else do you explain the joke, greatest eyebrows of all time? But wait, you say. Even if he lied at the party to stay in the closet, why did he go around parading Miguel as his great-great-grandson? Well, that's actually pretty obvious. Miguel was all anyone could talk about. He was the hot ticket at the moment. And, like other obnoxious self-centered celebrities, he saw an opportunity to turn this kid's moment into his own. Well, folks, that's all we have here for today in the Geek Suite. Be sure to click that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and for those wonderful viewers with disposable income who want to keep content like this coming, be sure to support me on Patreon, where you'll get early access to my videos, uncensored videos, and exclusive Patreon-only content. We really appreciate it. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.